buying into what the coaches want us to do and how we're supposed to break the huddle and operate and play fast. So I think it was a good first 2 days of that, obviously, to watch the tape.
Kevin, the Philly scheme is obviously kind of unique in the way that they obviously use Jalen with the run game, QB run game and whatnot. But are there any similarities to what you've done maybe in Pittsburgh or back in college to what you're doing out here?
Yeah, I think there's more similarities to Philly's system than people may realize, just because we're a little bit more under center than the gun. Philly was more in the gun, but a lot of the concepts are the same and the teaching is the same. Just learning the new terminology has really been the big thing for me.
How do you approach this in Philadelphia? Kevin has mentioned multiple times, you spending last year with the Eagles, them winning the Super Bowl, you getting a firsthand look of what it takes to get to that level. Just what do you take from that experience in Philadelphia, and how do you think that is going to help move your career forward?
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful for my time in Philly. I think I just, was shown how it's supposed to be done, really, from the top down. So when you get a chance to see what it's supposed to look like and how it should look on a day-to-day basis, not just on Sundays, I think it'll pay dividends for me, in the future.
Kenny, I know you told us about Jerry, working with him in the offseason and training together. It looked like today he's catching everything out there. Just what's it been like to reconnect with him here, and what's that early connection like?
Yeah, he's a really easy guy to throw to. I think it's a good play whenever you're throwing the ball to number 3. So, we should keep doing a lot more of that. But no, Jerry's an awesome guy. He works really hard. His communication with the quarterbacks is awesome. Just, if he sees something or if I see something, the ability just to have that open dialogue and kind of being on the same page has been great these first 2 days. I think it's shown.
When you just trying to guys like Donald and Gino having late career resurgences, Jerry's on this podium, quarterbacks too quickly.
I think it's just the nature of where the NFL is now. And just the. It takes a lot to play really, good quarterback play, and everyone's trying to, find that guy. And now I'm in this stage of my career where I'm trying to find that place and, figure it out. I got a chance to work with Gino this offseason, and he's, an awesome guy. And, I think that was also, a great experience for me working with a guy like him. It's very similar to Joe. Just later in the career has played a lot of football, and you can just pick up small things as you work with those guys.
Kenny, we didn't talk to you. We talked to you before the draft. So my question is, and you were very determined at that point that you were coming in here to win this starting job and to try to be the starter. So my question is, now that they've brought in 2 rookie quarterbacks and it's this 4-way intense competition, are you more determined than ever to win this starting job, or how do you feel about it now?
Yeah, I don't think anything really changed for me. Our job's to play football. Everyone has a job in the building to do. So I'm just focused on, my job and coming out here and competing and being as prepared as I can be, for these guys out here.
And how intense is the competition? How do you feel like it's?
I think it's, the outside world makes it up a lot bigger than it is. When you're day to day and you're in meetings with these guys, you're out of practice, we spend so much time together. Of course, we're all competing. But you become friends with everybody. We're helping each other. There's an open dialogue in the quarterback room to, help each other grow. So I think it's a great media headline, but when you get in the building in a quarterback room, and at least all the ones that I've been in, you really become friends with these guys, and we're just pushing each other.
When you last year, you go to Philadelphia knowing that your job's going to be to back up Jalen Hurts. So how do you approach it differently when you know that job could be yours to grab?
I think something that I forget who told me this early in my days in college. I just always approached every day as if I'm the starter, no matter where I was on the depth chart. So even when I was in Philly, I would prepare as if I was a starter because, you never know when that opportunity was going to be to go play. And, you want to be as prepared as you can be. So I'm kind of having the same mindset that I've always had since college of coming in, preparing like I'm the guy. So, whatever happens, it's just another day because I always had that same mindset.
With the extra reps out there, sometimes it looks like a 3-ring circus to us watching practice. The first 2 days, how do you think it's worked? Do you think it's
I think it's gone well. It's gone well. I mean, they're doing a great job of getting, everyone reps, to see, get experience with the offense and get a feel for everybody. Reps are just so key for the quarterback position with continuity with players. So you always want to get as many as you can get, and if you're not in, stealing some mental reps and going in and watching tape and seeing every play just to stay, as ahead as you can be.
What sort of lessons can you take from Gino's journey through the league?
Yeah, I think it's just taking advantage of an opportunity, when it's there. He bounced around a lot, got an opportunity, and, took off. So great guy, loved working with Gino. So really just, trying to take advantage of everything I get.
What are you learning from Joe? I mean, he's been around, obviously, for 17 seasons. So what kinds of takeaways are you getting from Joe Flacco out here?
I think it's more, film room in between reps, talking about what he saw or what I saw. He's just it's like, he's not a coach. I don't want anyone to say that. But it's like having another coach when a guy that's played that much football, you could bounce ideas off of, ask him what he saw, how he would read certain things earlier in his career. There's just so many things, small things that you can learn, just having that normal, open dialogue that we have in the quarterback room.
Do you do VR?
I don't. I've just I haven't tried it yet. I may go try it. Yeah, I'll definitely interested to try it. I'm just a big tape guy. I just always done it for a long time now, so I'm very comfortable there. But yeah, open to try it.
Kenny, obviously the Browns wanted you because they traded for you, but then since then, Kevin and AB, everybody's been really complimentary of you. Think you have a lot of untapped potential. So how does that make you feel heading into this competition, and just the fact that they think your best days are still yet to come?
No, that's awesome. That's why I'm just taking a day at a time and working really hard. I just want to be as prepared as I can be when the opportunity comes, and every chance I get out here, to put on good tape, play well, and then we'll see where the chips fall.
What do you learn, this time of year when you're going through the OTAs, the contact's limited, right? The defense is showing, but they're not being ultra aggressive. So what do you learn during this portion of the offseason program?
Those team periods are pretty aggressive. I think we were getting after it pretty good. But I think right now it's just learning a new system. You need live reps. At the end of the day, playing the quarterback position, you need live reps to feel comfortable in the system. I think the coaches are doing a great job of getting everybody those opportunities. Being as prepared as you can be, almost treating every practice like a game day script. You go home, you study it, you're prepared. You come in, you go out here and you work at it, and then you watch the tape. So I think that's kind of the process that I'm taking.
How about the two rookie QBs? Are the two rookie QBs really kind of picking your guys' brains and trying to learn from you? And if so, is it almost helping you learn, too, to have to be able to share with them?
Yeah, that's kind of the open dialogue thing that I was talking about earlier with Joe and all the quarterbacks. Just being in the film room, being able to talk through things. Same with Shadur and Dylan on the side. If they ever have a question to ask me and talk through it, it helps me just as much as it helps them. So, it's a great working environment, in that quarterback room.
Did it surprise you that they took two quarterbacks after the draft, after the trade?
I think the longer you play in the NFL, you just take everything in stride, man. Like I said, I have a job to do. I think everyone's focused on doing their job. So it's been, going really well so far.
I know you say you go ahead and you approach it like that you are the starter, but did it add any more extra motivation for you in your approach?
No, when you get locked in that mindset, nothing really, makes it, different, I don't think. You kind of just stick in that mode and continue to show up and work every day.
Have you felt the Shadur sort of aura? He's all over, social media. There's a huge fan base for him. He's a celebrity. I mean, have you sort of felt that? And if so, what impact does that have on any of this?
I don't think much player-wise. Shadur's an awesome guy, man. He's funny to be around. He's a great time every day in the quarterback room. We have a lot of laughs together, so it's been a lot of fun having him in the building.
Okay, with Joe, you mentioned he's kind of like a coach out there.
Not a coach.
Not a coach.
Right.
But he's been vocal in the past about it's not my job to be a mentor to
No.
other quarterbacks.
Nope.
But it happens naturally, and sometimes he feels like, he gets, we play gotcha with him on that. What do you make of that whole? Why is it such a big deal for a veteran quarterback to see themselves as a mentor, whatever that is?
Yeah, I don't really know how to answer that question. Like I said, it's open dialogue in the quarterback room where he's not a coach, but you have so much respect for his time in the NFL where you're asking questions. He'll ask you questions of what I saw when he was in there. It goes both ways, vice versa. So, not a coach. Not a coach, but he's an awesome guy to have in the room to really talk through this system that he's been in before, especially, and systems like it. So it's been good.
When you look back at those first couple of years in Pittsburgh, what are the things that stand out? You say, okay, this is what I need to do better, and there's so much more room for me to grow.
Yeah, I think continuing to work in the pocket's been, really good for me. Having a chance in Philly to do it, and now working with the coaches here, continuing to get better there. Felt like late in games, I found ways to win games, which was always good to see. But continue just to grow as a quarterback in the system. You have to be in a system for a couple of years to really grow. I'm hoping I can have that here, where you just build a foundation with something and grow with it. So I'm just taking it a day at a time.
What about just a couple more? Deontay Johnson. What do you think he can bring to the table here, and what kind of camaraderie or chemistry do you two guys have?
Yeah, being able to play with Tay for a couple of years in Pittsburgh, now we're teammates again. I think that's awesome. His route running ability, his ability to separate, I think drop his weight in and out of routes, it's special. So I'm excited to get back out there with him.
Kenny, when you think about Geno Smith and some of the other guys, who have kind of resurrected their careers, not at their original place when they came in, in the draft as a first-round pick or whatever. Like, do you feel different? Like, is it freeing at all that maybe the expectations shift as when you come into Pittsburgh as a big draft investment versus now that might be off your shoulders?
I feel like I'm pretty hard on myself to be, as best as I can be. So I try to always not worry about the outside opinion and just, hold myself to a really high standard of how I want to play quarterback and how I want to play football. So I don't think my mindset will change. Excited to have this opportunity. Really grateful to be here. And it's been a lot of fun so far.
You mentioned during the team period it being pretty aggressive out there. Were you surprised to nearly be sacked on that one play?
What'd you say?
It looked like 90 took a good run on you.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It felt like live football to me. We were going after it, and that's great to get, reps full speed like that. You'd rather have the coaches try to pull back on the reins than tell you to get going. So I think it's a good way to be and, how we should be, attacking each day.
Thanks, guy.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Joe, it seems almost like a three-ring circus at times out there on practice field with all these extra reps. How do you think it's been going the first 2 days?
It's going well. Listen, it's the offseason. It's OTAs. It's fun to get back out there and actually play a little football again. It's funny. It's like every time I go out here in the offseason, I've done it a million times, but it's like there's a little piece of you that's like, all right, let's see if I still know how to read it and let it go and do all those things. So it's good to get back out there and start doing it again.
Joe, I know you've probably been asked this a lot over the past couple of years, but like when you come into these quarterback rooms, especially one like this, where you've got guys who are like in grade school when you made your NFL debut, what's the dynamic like, especially for you, interacting with all these young quarterbacks?
I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, I actually, like, just from experience, I think they tend to get a little bit of a kick out of me just because I am 40 years old now and could be their fathers probably. And it's fun for me, too, in the same kind of way. I mean, they're young and they have a lot of life and a lot of energy and a lot of, new things that kind of can keep me in the loop with my kids and all those things. It's fun. I mean, everybody in that locker room, it's like we're all 25-year-olds just having the time of our lives. And look, we get to come out here and do this for a living, so why wouldn't we feel that way?
Joe, when is the last time you were in a real quarterback competition like this one seems to be?
I don't know. High school. Probably my sophomore year of high school. I could be wrong, though. I don't know.
So what's that like, though? I mean, for you to be...
Listen, I'm not really thinking about it that much, honestly. I'm just kind of going out there and doing what I do, and, everything else is, kind of out of my control. So all I can do is go out there and play football, and that's what I'm doing.
When you were here in 23, Jared Judy was not. What do you think?
Yeah, he's exciting. I mean, he's got speed, he's got route running ability, and you can see the look in his eyes. He wants to be good, and he wants to do it the right way. So it's exciting to be around him.
Kind of similar to Amari Cooper in that standpoint.
Listen, I mean, I no knock on Jerry, but I mean, Amari's done it for a long time, and he's a little bit of a different cat. So that's when I say I see the look in his eyes out here. Like, I think he's striving to be somebody like that, for sure. But I mean, listen, Amari's done it for a while now, and like I said, he's a little bit of a different dude. He's pretty damn good.
How about Kenny Pickett? What are you seeing in Kenny and you guys? I see you guys out there, kind of talking a lot, and it looks like even just in photos that we've seen, you guys have really developed a nice rapport.
Listen, we spend a lot of time together. All the quarterbacks do. I think that's the nature of the beast when you're in this business and you're in a room together a lot. You better find ways to get along and find common ground with people, and that's what we're doing in there. We're having a blast and having a lot of fun talking football and then just laughing at things that come up, on a daily basis.
Have you ever tried the VR?
So I've been around some VR. I tend to just like sitting in the room and watching it on film. But listen, I think when you talk to different individuals, everybody has a little bit of a different experience, and if you feel like you're getting help from it, it's a nice way to get extra reps. And a lot of the times with things like that, even if it's not like earth-shattering, if you feel like it is and you feel like it's giving you a lot of help, then it is. So I think there is value in it. I've never been one of those guys to kind of do it, but if that's what you like, then there's probably a lot of value in it.
You have been around. You've seen so much, almost everything. Even with Lamar coming into Baltimore, how have you sensed the whole Shedeur sort of celebrity and aura that kind of follows him around, and what impact does that have on anything?
I don't know if it has an impact on much, but Shedeur's been great. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around in those meeting rooms, and I think so far there's been, at least once in the meeting room that he's made me crack a smile, and that's what it's all about. He's a young guy trying to learn some football and come out here and practice well and do those things. And like I said, he's been a lot of fun. I mean, he's come up to me and, listen, I probably wasn't too far away from playing against his dad, and now I'm playing with him. So,
Joe, you've been vocal in recent years about the topic of like veteran quarterbacks having a duty as a mentor. Why do you think us outside world makes such a big deal of that?
it's a talking point. You can kind of like use it because it's a good question to bait somebody into answering, and no matter how they answer it, it kind of makes the guy that's answering it look bad. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, I look bad. If I say I do want to be a mentor, then I look like an idiot that doesn't care about being good and playing football. So it's one of those questions that no matter what I say, you guys can write what you want to write about it. And there's a lot of questions like that. That's why you end up having to try to avoid them. I tend to try to be honest. And I've said I'm not a mentor. I play football. And in a quarterback room, there's a lot of times there's been a ton of times where there's learning experiences. And I have a lot of experience, and I can talk on things. And hopefully they listen. But it's not necessarily like my job to like make sure they listen to me. And, hey, like hopefully you have a really good relationship with the guys that are in the room. And you naturally want to do that, but that was a long-winded answer, but that's ultimately why I think you guys ask it,
Joe, you said you don't watch the draft. So when you found out that the Browns drafted 2 quarterbacks, did you have any kind of reaction to that?
I think you always have a little bit of reaction, going back to being honest. Yeah, I mean, my wife was like, oh, they just drafted another guy. My wife is on top of it, so there you go.
Do you think that your view, what you just said, is more of a predominant view, and then other quarterbacks are maybe less willing to be direct about it?
Listen, here's the thing: is because of what I just said, you're acting like I wouldn't want to be a mentor. It's once again, it's not really about that. It's just not the main focus. I see myself as a guy that can play in this league. So if your main focus was just like, hey, but I'm going to get you ready, you're just not taking care of business. The best way to be a mentor, honestly, is show people how you go to work. And like I said, hope that they pick up on that stuff, but not necessarily force them to pick up on the things that you do.
Do you think you'll be a better quarterback as a result of being here from the very start as opposed to 2023?
I think there's probably some validity to that, and then at the same time, the offseason gets overblown in how important it actually is. In my experience, I love being here at this time with OTAs. Do I love Phase 1 and Phase 2? Not really. Do I love OTAs and minicamp? I really do. Once you get to train, because you're playing football, you're doing what you do. And at this point in my career, I have such a routine that I'm in that I could stay in during Phase 1 and Phase 2 that ultimately could be more valuable. You could argue whether it is or not. I think there's value in being here in the locker room with your guys. I think that's the value. Do I think doing all the stuff that we're doing is super valuable? Maybe not. And then the other thing about that is when you get back for training camp, as valuable as this is or isn't, when you get back for training camp, it's training camp, and it starts over, and now it's the real season, and that's what matters. So, for some guys around the league that don't necessarily come to these, or for guys that don't need to participate in these, training camp, you show up and you're ready to go, and you're one of those guys that can be ready to go and play at the top of their game. That's what matters.
Joe, Tony's question there. Is there a comfort level now because you were here in 23 and you're not maybe having to play as much crash course catch up as far as learning the system and the offense? Is there a lot of similarity, or are you having to basically learn yet another new offense now?
I think you always kind of go back to the beginning and relearn and do those things, especially when you've taken a year to be in another offense. There's always refreshers, and I'd be lying if I said there wasn't any level of like being a little bit more comfortable being here, just because you're familiar with your surroundings and things like that. But I think at the end of the day, you always kind of have to go back to the beginning and relearn and learn again and kind of start from square one.
So there's a narrative that Joe doesn't need as many reps, right? Because of experience and familiarity.
Yeah.
What's your read on that?
Yeah. I think there's probably some truth in that. And at the same time, I like getting reps. You know, I have fun going out there, and I want to, I want to throw to these guys. But yeah, listen, at certain times, I think there's some truth in I don't need as many. We just talked about it, like how important is this time of the year, and I think it's fun, and I think it's important. I don't think it's the most important. So,
Joe, if the fans were determining who's going to be the starter on opening day, you would win that one, hands down, because every single place that I go,
right,
everyone tells me that they want you to start. So my question to you is just how cool is it for you to land back here where you just have the absolute love of all these Cleveland Browns fans, and are you feeling it again?
Yeah, it's a cool place. I mean, I the last time I was here, you picked up on it. I mean, it's a city that loves football and is hungry for some winning, and I think that's what resonated is we won games. And listen, it feels good, but listen, you got to go out there and you got to perform and you got to play well and you got to win football games. That's what it's all about, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm working hard to put us in the best position, put myself in the best position to be out there winning football games. So,
just a couple more percentage, maybe, because obviously, like the offense was kind of revamped last year when you were gone. But if you had to put a percentage on how similar it is to when you were here in 2023, what would you say?
That's like asking, like, oh, if I'm injured, I'm like 80%. I never really understood that. I don't know how to come up with a percentage. It's either like 100 or 0. There's familiar. There's a lot of the same. It's a lot of similar concepts and things like that. There may be some new names and new ways we're kind of teaching things, but ultimately a lot of the core stuff is pretty similar. So a good amount, yeah.
Joe, Jerry was just talking. He says he's locker mates with you, and that you guys have a lot of conversations over the course. What are those like, and how important is that, especially with a guy like Jerry, to kind of develop that, that bond beyond just on the,
Yeah, well, if you're assuming we're in there talking about football, we're not usually.
No, but
I can't tell you what we were just talking about in there. But it's fun. Yeah, like I love that. I love I was walking back to my locker and 3 guys were sitting right there, and I'm like, all right, what's the topic? What are we talking about? And they usually tend to shut up and listen because they think I have some kind of wisdom because I'm old. I don't necessarily, at least on some of the things they're talking about. I'm not sure I do have the right kind of knowledge about that, but it's a lot of fun.
Joe, along the lines of understanding your point on mentorship, like you talk about like learning from the experiences that you have. How much are those 2 working quarterbacks? How often are those conversations happening? I guess like whether it's in the quarterback room.
Yeah, a good amount. Like I mean, look, like. There's been, like, the first day we were out here throwing routes, like, Shador was asking me about steps and things like that. I mean, Dylan was, calling me up, trying to mimic my cadence and to see if that, like, for whatever reason, he wants to get it similar. So, he's even down to the cadence. I mean, there's questions and things and conversations that are happening, and they're fun,
Do you use
Last one?
after them taking Shador and Dylan, does it add any more motivation for you at all?
Well, it's like when somebody asks the question, like, do you feel a certain way when they draft 2 quarterbacks or whatever? I think there's no shying away that there's something that gets ignited in you a little bit. Like, there's a reason I still want to play this game, But at the end of the day, I really don't focus on those things. I focus on coming out here, doing my work, having a lot of fun, and all those other things fall into place. Having good relationships with guys, and that's the quarterbacks included. It's not just the receivers and the O-line and the running backs. It's having good relationships in that quarterback room. You spend a lot of time with those guys. They all seem to be great guys and guys that want to play well and get better, and so I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.